The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. There are a number of more live elements to this week's show than what we might have traditionally, which is good, if a bit riskier. Coming up between now and, what you can literally call the end, we'll do it in reverse. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth talking about the recent games and looking ahead to the trip to MK Dons as well. We'll hear from Craig and his media responsibilities with Wycombe Wanderers Women. We'll find out about their next qualifying game in the Women's FA Cup. We'll chat to the chairman and vice chair of the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, Alan Hutchinson, and JDT, John Taylor, will be talking to us about their annual dinner. Well, it was annual before COVID. That's coming up next month. And we'll hear from Adebayo Akinfenwa as well. He's been speaking to Luke about his Beast Mode on screening, which comes to Wycombe Swan next week. And we've got a competition for you to win VIP tickets to that very event as well. But first, as we often like to do, to open up our Wycombe Wanderers Show, the weekly event that is, our match debrief with Phil, who of course you'll know as match commentator, head of audio and broadcast at Wycombe Wanderers, and of course host of the very excellent Ring in the Blues. And I'm very pleased to say we can speak to him now. Hello, sir.
Good evening, Colin.
Really good to speak to you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed. Yeah, it's nice to do this live and on air. It's just wonderful.
No, really, really good. I was going to say we could prove it's live, but that you could have done that just by saying nothing, and then we'd have edited that bit out if it was pre-recorded. But it's been an interesting week, hasn't it? In terms of, well, I suppose it was always going to be interesting with the two games against Peterborough, but I guess there was a bit of pressure on the team with the win against Oxford as well.
Yeah, I think it's been a tricky little run of games when you look at them. Oxford, Peterborough, and now MK, all have got an element of spice to them. A bit of heat, a bit of local rivalry, a bit of history, and in some cases, nearly all of those games, all of those things, adding to the the depth of the game and not just what goes on the pitch as well. Fans getting really stuck in and excited about it too. But yeah, I think that's kind of sums up League One really as well. And it's great that Wycombe can have these little rivalries and spicy games because it really adds to the occasion.
Really nice for the fans as well. As we say, there's a bit of a run of those 3 defeats, and really nice to be able to bounce back strongly, and great to do it at home against Peterborough as well with some brilliant support at Adams Park.
Yeah, it was really lovely to get that second half performance, especially to get the 3 points, but also the drama at the end. Because at 2-1 and in injury time, Peterborough, to their credit, were really pushing Wycombe hard. But to get that third goal in injury time and the manner of the goal, the excitement of it, the goalkeeper coming up for Peterborough and then the counter-attack and, the work rate and endeavour of Anis Vermetti and also Alfie Mawson, who I think must be approaching an Olympic record with his speed down the pitch and his calm head as well for the assist. A really brilliant, excitable end to the game, which will hopefully see fans coming back for more for the run of home games we've got coming up now.
As you said, there's real kind of spice to the game with what's happened previously against Peterborough, but also because they've had such a good start to the season as well.
Yeah, down from the Championship. They failed to stay up in the Championship and they came into the game 4th in the table, although 8 points off the automatics, which just goes to show the pace at the top at the moment. But a really solid start under Grant McCann. But their fans weren't happy with the defeat, especially I think because it was against Wycombe, but also perhaps the manner of it in the second half. And also with that pace, I think every defeat in this really competitive League One is keenly felt for those teams that really want to be in the top 2.
So what particularly impressed you about the display and obviously the outcome was pretty good all round?
I think the thing about the Wycombe display was that in the first half, I thought the final ball, especially in the final third, was poor for Wycombe. But in the second half, they improved, I thought, greatly in that area and the intensity as well. So it was brilliant to see a game where we grew into the game and dominated, and the fitness levels I thought were great. It's the first time we've come from behind in the league in over a year, unbelievably. And I think that was excellent as well, because I think we kind of almost took it for granted before then that Wycombe would, even if it was really late and they were losing or needing to get a winner late on, more often than not they would. But it has been a little while, so it was nice to get that back under our belts as well. And it was a very Wycombe-esque performance, I thought.
And really nice for the various goal scorers, but great to see, obviously, Sam Vokes back on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, first home goal of the season for him, which is great. Second of the season. And we've got to remember as well, it's been an injury-hit campaign for Sam Vokes. And I think strikers feel this even more keenly than anyone else on the pitch because it's that match sharpness and it's the sharpness in front of goal that's really killer, isn't it? That's the killer instinct of all strikers and all decent strikers. Listen, Sam Vokes is a wonderful striker at League One. I think once he's 100% match fit, which I'm really thinking he's getting there now, we should be seeing him kick on now and hopefully adding to that total. And it'll be great to do it against MK Dons at their place again on Saturday.
More on that game to come as well. But Phil spoke to Gareth after the game as well to get his thoughts.
I thought the lads were brilliant, took on what they did last week, took it here at home. Some of these top teams, they haven't had the luck that we've had at the moment. We've had 9 actual starters out and it was hard, it was really hard, but now they're gradually coming back. You see Damani and Brandon both make an entrance today. Got a great squad, I really have. When everyone's fit, we're going to be firing, and I think patience was the key word. Fans were fantastic, thank you so much. You really got behind the boys. A little bit nervy at times, but what a way to finish the game. And Alfie Mawson's broke his sprint record, I think, on that. It was sensational. But the back three, Alfie, JJ and Chris Farina, I thought they contained what probably is one of the strongest strike forces in the league, and if we can do that, then there's no reason we can't crack on and compete against any team in this division.
It's been a really good 7 days for Wycombe Wanderers. When I announced the team news in the village before the game, when I got to the bench, a big cheer for Brandon Hanlon, and it shows you the importance of these returning players. Yeah, of course, and he's going to have to get up to speed. It's going to take him some time, and again, once they're fit, they're not just match fit automatically, and matches get you match fit. But no, the boys were sensational, second half especially, but first half as well. It's taken a worldy strike to beat us. I said to the boys, if somebody beats you from 25 yards, fair enough, it's a great strike, and that happened, but they never really got in behind us. They hit the post on one, but Max Strake is proving to be one of the top keepers in the division, and I say Anis, Chris Farino, these youngsters coming through now getting minutes is so brilliant to see that they're gelling so well. No, really, really proud of the boys today. They deserve all the credit. They were absolutely sensational. Volksy getting another goal, Nick Freeman, Lewis Wing, 2 holding midfielders who probably are more ball players, more attackers, but done a job for me. No, we're really proud of the boys today, and hopefully we can crack on now. And on top of the victory, it was a victory from behind as well, and Wycombe haven't done that for a little while. Cheers for the reminder, Phil. Yeah, I know, but like I say, I know what I've got. I spoke to Rob yesterday. He's just fantastic with his backing and his belief. He deserves some credit, because I never feel pressure. I never feel pressure where I have to make a decision under pressure, where sometimes you might make the wrong decision because you're feeling pressured. Rob's just been absolutely brilliant, knows what we are. It's almost a partnership at times where he's saying, look, get on with it, I'll get on with my bit, and I'll give you as much as I can. It's brilliant to have that, that backing. And Pete being over, obviously he's worried he has to go home at some stage, and we've only been winning since he's been back. So and Missy, of course, I can't thank them enough. They've been fantastic for me. But today, yeah, real big marker, I thought, against a team that were in the Championship last year. And obviously a little bit of spice in the game. They obviously aggrieved at the 2 years ago when the points thing happened, and then looked at us and probably laughed at our Championship total of points. But that was that's what it is. So we have to just try and get back there now as Wycombe Wanderers. We want to get to that next tier, and we've done well today to try and achieve that.
A really great result, a great performance, as we touched on with Phil, and as you mentioned earlier, a really nice sort of end to the game as well.
Yeah, that's what we like to see, isn't it? That's what you pay money for: excitement and a bit of high drama, and real quality as well. As I said, the composed nature of Alfie Mawson, who has been brilliant, by the way. Everyone was very excited to see him return for Wycombe Wanderers, but there were huge question marks over his fitness because he hadn't played much football. But he's been excellent. He's been really, really excellent. And what's really lovely to see as well, he's got a big smile on his face. He's loving being back at Wycombe Wanderers, really embracing the challenge of League One and loving being back under Gareth Ainsworth and Richard Dobson and wearing the quarters again, which is really, really good to see. His quality at the back is unrivaled, I think, in League One. And then, as we mentioned earlier, Sam Vokes up top, getting near to 100% fitness, finding the back of the net. He's got an away goal, he's got a home goal, and it was really good to speak to him after the game too.
Bit of a frustrating first half. It was good to get ourselves back in the game and go in 1-0 at half time. But I thought we grew into the game massively and were the strongest team definitely come the second half, and rounded it off nicely and a great home win in front of the fans.
An assist as well for G-Mac's goal?
Yes, yeah. I was going for goal, to be honest with you, but it was nice to find G-Mac at a back stick. But it was it was nice to get that goal before half time, so I think it settled a few nerves going into half time, and like I say, we came out a lot stronger second half.
In the first half you were finding space, but the crosses weren't finding you a lot of the time. Did you think maybe it was one of those days?
Yeah, it felt like it a bit, and there was a bit of frustration, I think, because we were getting ourselves in good positions, but that end product just wasn't there first half, and I think it's something we spoke about at half time, and we built on that second half.
Real quality assist from Nick Freeman for your goal as well.
Yeah, Nick done brilliant. Real box-to-box player today, and he showed his fitness, and it's great to see him back playing regularly after that injury last year, and he did some great footwork in the box, and I was delighted when he managed to find me in the 6-yard box.
And talk about the third goal from your perspective as well. We were screaming up in the gantry. We thought Alfie was going to shoot, and when he didn't, we thought the moment had gone. But real composure when everyone else was losing their head.
Definitely, yeah. From my perspective, I was just trying to get out of the pitch. I was knackered at that point, but Alfie showed his fitness at the end there, and I don't know where he found that pace in the 90-odd minute, but yeah, he did fantastic, and that rounded off a great performance.
Great to hear from Sam Vokes, and of course Peterborough, the visitors once again on Tuesday evening as well. That and the Papa John's Trophy, which I guess some people might be pleased that we're no longer in, but it was a fantastic sort of effort in the end, and unfortunately not quite enough to go through though.
Yeah, the best performance I think for Wycombe in the group, and a 1-1 draw and a win on penalties, albeit a redundant penalty shootout, although great experience for the players that took part, and a win is a win, as they say. So the 2 points, 4 points in total for the group, not enough to get out. But as Peterborough knew, a draw would be enough. They had big guns on the bench, and when Wycombe took the lead through Daryl Horgan in the second half, a really good goal, by the way, as well. And Adam Leathers really keyed to the assist for Daryl Horgan's neat finish. As soon as the ball hit the back of the net, Grant McCann sent Johnson Clark-Harris up to warm up. Top goal scorer this year in League One. He was thwarted on Saturday in the league, but he had one chance on Tuesday night, and he took it unmarked at the back post. So I think that you'd expect him to at least hit the target and score, and that's exactly what he did. Big Max Trick unable to do anything about that header, no fault for the keeper. But 1-1 was enough, and Wycombe, despite Big Max going up this time in injury time, nearly connecting on one at the end. And also a debut for Christy Ward as well, one of the development boys who was signed from Brockenhurst. He signed and had a pre-existing back injury, which they knew about, and they knew they'd have to get right before we saw him in the quarters. But a competitive debut for him, for Wycombe Wanderers, is a big plus as well, and we're expecting big things from him, along with the other development boys. I thought Jasper Pattenden starting at left back and then moving across to right back when Jack Grimmer was taken off as a precaution in first half stoppage time was another really bright spot as well. But it is a big shame that Wycombe are out, because it means now that these development boys have got one less at least competitive game for them to get some minutes in the quarters and continue to develop their career. Gareth Ainsworth did allude in his post-match, didn't he, that some of those may well now be looking to go out on loan to continue their football education and senior football experience, which would be no bad thing either. But yeah, it would have been lovely to get through and get a second round draw and just see how far they could go. But one for next season. But we got 4 more points than we did last year in this competition. And it's a competition that now really does make sense for Wycombe Wanderers, with the development squad and also with the larger first team squad, with players coming back to fitness and getting minutes as well.
A really good sign of progress for the team, and obviously on Saturday looking to make it 3 wins in a row, going to a place where many fans remember their last trip to Stadium MK for that playoff and where they were situated.
Oh yeah, what a night that was, by the way. Certainly when the final whistle went, it was a very tense 90 or so minutes before then. MK Dons played Wycombe off the park, but a superb rearguard action and one of the all-time great goalkeeping displays for Wycombe Wanderers by David Stockdale meant that the celebrations were pretty wild on the pitch and in the top corners of the away end at Stadium MK. It wasn't that long ago, really, was it, May? But a lot has happened since then for both clubs. a lot of churn of players, particularly for MK Dons. A lot of big names have gone as well, their star players, and it's been a really tricky start for them. It's been a sticky start for Wycombe as well, must be said, but I think MK Dons in much greater need of a positive result on Saturday, and we'll see if that pressure tells, because Liam Manning, I thought, did a fantastic job last season. He took over right at the start of the season when Russell Martin left for Swansea. He inherited a good situation, but he really kind of kicked on. He almost took the foot off the brake for them a little bit as well, and they played some really beautiful, expansive football and got in the playoffs, had a phenomenal season. Many people thought they were very unlucky not to go out automatically, and a lot of people were tipping them to kind of walk their way through League One this season and pick up where they left off. But it hasn't been the case. They find themselves in the relegation zone. But with local derbies, you often have to look at the table and think it's not really relevant, because this game will have a bit of edge, it'll have a bit of spice, and we'll have to see what happens with it. But Wycombe can go into it off the back of these 2 wins against Peterborough and Oxford, 2 really good wins as well. Hopefully they can go in with their tails up, and hopefully they can make the situation worse for MK Dons come 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Great to have you on the show live this week. Thank you so much, Andy, for your time, and enjoy the game on Saturday.
Cheers, Colin. Looking forward to it.
Phil Catchpole there. You'll be your match commentator on Saturday on Wycombe Sound on 106.6 and on Wanderers TV, of course, which is where you can catch up with the full interviews that you heard with Gareth and Sam. Also, at that Peterborough game on Saturday, Luke caught up with Adebayo Akinfenwa ahead, of course, of next Wednesday's double screenings at Wycombe Swan of Beast Mode On.
Nice to see you again. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Although you will be coming back every week now.
See that.
Bale, we've spoken to the club, we've spoken to Wycombe Swan. I think the word that is being described as excitement for the Premier. You've seen the trailer today, which looks brilliant.
Yeah.
It's not just the big thing was it's not just coming to watch it; it's an experience. What can you tell people that haven't got their tickets yet? What it's going to be like?
First, listen, go get your tickets, because I actually chose to have the premiere at Wycombe because it means so much to me. It is my second home, and I think what they'll get from the documentary, I think they'll get an insight to the man that behind what everybody sees, and it's been a journey and it's been a process, and then also it should show that, look, we all go through stuff, and I think perseverance and mindset is the most important thing. And it's exciting. Like, I haven't seen the final edit, and I keep saying I think I'm going to look to take it in with everybody else and get everybody's reactions at the same time. So come join me, and it's another part of the process, another part of the journey.
And how about life after football? Were you watching today going, I wish I was on the pitch, or not?
Nah, I didn't want to get back on the pitch. Like I said, I see Volksy run the channel a few times, and I see him even get booked because he ran back. So I remember the yards you have to put in, but I went in there at half time, and I'll always say you can't replicate the changing room, you can't replicate the bond. And that's what I miss. But listen, I still keep in touch with everybody here, including Gaffer, Dobbo, and yeah, you can't replicate the changing room, but I don't miss being out there on the pitch.
I think that's the big thing. I think when everyone heard that it was being shown in Wycombe, and you know the rumours that you were going to be here today as well, there was an excitement, and I think as much as you love being here, we love you being here as well. And I think, Wednesday the 26th is going to be brilliant, and we're all looking forward to it, and we'll look forward to seeing it with and watching it with you as well.
Yes. Listen, come down. If you ain't got a ticket, come down and take this in, because listen, I believe that our journey, 6 years and beyond, it will go on. It's been incredible, and it's just a nice way to take it in together.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth speaking this morning at his press session from the training ground, looking ahead to the trip to MK Dons, and we'll preview the latest qualifying round of the Women's FA Cup, which Wycombe Wanderers Women will be involved in. We'll chat to Craig as well, who's doing some media work with them. But first, if you're a regular listener, around this time of the show, you'll know that we often get to speak to many former stars who've worn the quarters over the years, thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. They've got their annual dinner returning next month. I'm very pleased to say joining us this week on the show is the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association Chairman, Alan Hutchinson. A very good evening to you.
Good evening.
And his Vice Chairman is JDT, John Taylor, who's also with us. Hello, sir.
Hi, Colin.
They'll be answering various questions on their specialist subject, which is the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Alan, tell us a bit about the Ex-Players Association first of all, because it's in now 12 years.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's an amazing story, actually, because it's something I'd thought about for many years. And I never got the chance to actually launch it, because working 6 days a week from 8:30 to 6:30 at the football club never gave me the chance to really launch it, because I was far too busy at the football club. But in 2008, the owner, Steve Hayes, we had a fallout, which was a real pity at the time, but it was a serious fallout. And he said to me, I think you should leave at the end of the season. And so that was the end of that. So out I went. And then at the start of the following season, in August, he rang me and said, look, he said, I think I've made a mistake. He said, when can you come back? I said, well, I'm not coming back because I've got another job where I only work 5 days a week, and it gives me a chance to spend the weekend with my wife. I said, and that's very important to me. I said, but I do have an idea to launch an ex-players association. And I said we need to have a committee which we hold once a month at the football club. And the other thing I'm interested in is having a dinner at the end of the season. I said, but once we get going, it could be great. So there's a long pause. And he said, right, okay, do it. He said, you can have a room at the football club. It won't cost you anything. He said, you can meet once a month as you want. And the annual dinner, well, we can put that down for you as well and get that cracking. And he said, anything else that you think of we can help with, he said, we will do it. And so it was brilliant, because it meant where we were very good friends at one time, we'd had this fallout, and now all of a sudden we came back to be good friends again. And it was terrific. And of course JDT was one of those on the list that I needed, because though, he'd worked at the Bucks Free Press and he'd reported on the club, and all the other things he'd done during his career have been fantastic. And his ability with a computer is unbelievable. It really is quite tremendous. So it meant we would have somebody that could really run things in a way that would make the whole thing roll throughout the whole session with the members that we wanted to join. And also having on the committee someone from each era meant that he would know the players that he played with and would be able to contact with them. So we had somebody from the 50s who was, did very, very well for us, and sadly is no longer with us. But then we had 60s, which Keith Samuels is still with us then, Vince Faulkner from the 70s who's still with us, and so on. It went right the way through, and it was just so successful, and it has been for, 12 years, something like that, 13 years.
And JDT, there's such a real sense of community as well as it's grown.
Well, the strange thing is that we actually did do something before the 2009 formation. Hutch and I got together and we did a dinner for the 1957 FA Amateur Cup final team, and 11 of the 12 squad turned up. There was only one man who was missing, and somebody came up to us afterwards and said, "Oh, that was quite good, wasn't it? Why don't you do that again?" It took a little while for that to go into Hutch's head, but he did get there in the end, and that was when he called me in. And you talk about the community. We had, for the very first official event that we had, was a match on an Easter Monday against Chesterfield at home, and we got 120 ex-players attended, and the club were astounded, and to be honest, we were. But that really set the tone for it, and it has grown and grown and grown. We don't know how much longer, because the more modern players are not necessarily as keen on the event as some of the older ones. And the reason for that is quite simple. The older ones, most of them live locally. The more modern players, you just spoke to Akinfenwa a few moments ago. We said to him, "You're going to join the Ex-Players Association." And he said, "Which of my 16 ex-clubs should I join?" It's that kind of thing. So, but we're making the most of it at the moment.
And Alan, there's a real fundraising aspect to it as well, which people might not be aware of.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's absolutely fantastic and it's local too. I mean, we do all the fundraising we do is money for local charities and local things, like the air ambulance, just as an example, which is a very, very important group that work very hard on flying around with the ambulance to rescue people that are seriously injured, and they need support, and we often give them money. And there are a number of other contacts as well.
Hearing dogs for the blind, I was going to say, but they're definitely hearing dogs for the deaf.
They're very talented, those dogs.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I always get that one mixed up. But we also, and Hutch is quite right, that's one of our fundamental procedures during the year, is to get enough funds to help out local charities. And this year we've got a particularly relevant one, because we're doing something special for a man we call Mr. Wycombe, who's John Reardon. Some of your listeners would never have heard of John Reardon, but let me just tell you, he's the only person who played for the club, managed the club, was assistant manager under Martin O'Neill and various other managers, and took the very job that Hutch had as club secretary. And that doesn't include things like, on the day he got married at midday and turned out for Wycombe Wanderers in the afternoon. We are going to help Wycombe Set do a conversion of their premises, and it's going to be called the Reardon Rooms, and we're helping finance that with some other bodies as well, and that we hope is going to be a really, really successful thing from the dinner. And I think Hutch will tell you the man who's coming along to speak about it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And this is something that is very important, because this is one of the reasons why we want to do this evening on Wycombe Sound, is to get as many people in as possible, because we need to raise those funds. We have got funds, but it would be great if we could get some funds in to do that. And the whole thing will be put to bed, and then there would be the John Reardon Room, which would be absolutely terrific. And I think it's Bob Dell you mean, isn't it, John?
Well, I was meaning somebody even bigger than Bob Dell. Bob Dell is going to be doing some of the work on it. But Martin O'Neill, who spoke so eloquently at Reardo's funeral, which unfortunately was curtailed because we were in the midst of COVID, but Martin still turned up and gave, as Martin always does, a riveting eulogy to Reardo, and he's coming along to the dinner, as he always does.
That's right.
His big event of the year, isn't it, Hutch?
Absolutely. And when it was first launched, he used to pull my leg like mad. Say, "What do you want to do that for? Our ex-players?" He said, "No one to turn up." And of course, once he turned up, he couldn't believe it, and he just kept coming back. He's coming back. He always arrives late. We're already at it and getting going, and suddenly the door opens and in he comes. But as John rightly says, he's been to all of them and he supports it, and he's absolutely terrific.
And as well, it's not just an event for ex-players, fans can come too.
Sorry?
It's not just an event for ex-players, fans can come too.
Oh yes, absolutely. This is absolutely right. We were coming on to that anyway, but yes, fans that will want to come, they'll be very, very welcome. But they must understand that those are ex-players. The ex-players, they pay a special fee, and then those that aren't ex-players have to pay the full fee. So, but anybody that's really interested in coming, they can contact either John or myself.
Yeah, and we're only talking about a $5 difference there.
Yeah.
But I tell you who else is coming. Interestingly, he only rang me a couple of hours ago. The very man that Alan was talking about right at the start of the conversation, Steve Hayes. Now, Steve Hayes, in some Wycombe fans' eyes, is not a name they like to mention. Steve Hayes for Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association has been absolutely terrific, was absolutely terrific at the start, and he has supported the events even though he faded out of the picture. And he's got a table of 10 for the event, and we're really, really grateful for Steve and his support.
Absolutely, yeah. As I say, it was good. We had a fallout, but we got back and we've been friends for many years. And the good thing about him, I first met him when Big Terry Evans, who I'm close with him, John. In fact, Big Terry, Dave Jones, who was a fantastic physician there, and Gina Allen, who was a club doctor. We meet once a year. We're that close with friends, and he was a friend and had been a friend of Terry's for a long time. And it was Terry who got him into the club, actually. And so to get back and be a friend of his now is absolutely super.
So, JDT, give us a bit of an idea of what else will be happening on the evening. We haven't actually said when it is yet. It's the 18th of November.
Well, we hope that certain people aren't listening, because we've got two really, really big surprises. It's the 135th anniversary of the club. And one of the things we do every year, we have a feature around a particular event, like 30 years ago, Martin's first trip to Wembley, the 2007 League Cup semi-final team, the 2001 Cup semi-final team. This year, we're looking at the 135 years of the club. It's not going to take 135 hours to do. We're going to go briefly through the highlights, but people will be able to see action from a lot of the big events that have littered Wycombe's history over those years. And we've got two special awards, which are going to two people who we're not going to name, but I can tell you that they are two of the biggest names in Wycombe Wanderers history, and I'm talking about modern history. And those two will be really big awards. So it's I think this year, we've been away for 2 years with the COVID. I think it's going to be a really, really smashing way to come back.
And Alan, something that really stands out about these events is that the opportunity for people from, as you say, different eras to really kind of mingle and get together again.
Oh, absolutely. What has been an incredible situation over the years, and I watched it very carefully, was people that played in different eras suddenly become very good friends. And they exchange stories and the people they knew, and they either play golf together or they do something, but they've suddenly become good friends. And that's what's really linked High Wycombe in a very big way with the Ex-Players Association, is that those players, for example, with the guys that played in the 50s, suddenly got very friendly with the fellas who played in the 70s. And it's really good to see all that kind of thing going on, because it's just one thing, and that is Wycombe Wanderers.
And JDT, I'm sure that you've heard in the many ex-players that we've spoken to over the weeks, but they do have such a place in their hearts for the club.
Yeah, I think the thing is that the players come and go, but that Wycombe somehow have got the group of people who somehow stay together. Now they're WhatsApp groups and things like that. But, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, as you know, because you featured it, we had the boys from the 50s, we call them the boys, the boys from the 50s and the 60s who got together, 20-odd of them, under Alan's chairmanship, arranged by John Bignell, at the Bull at Bissam, and they had 3 or 4 hours together just talking about football in the 1950s and the 60s. Now, that's fantastic. A few months ago, Keith Scott and Rhino organised a get-together for some of the boys from the 90s. So they come together even though there's not necessarily an event. But let me just tell you one thing, because you may be pressed for time, but we have a Facebook page, and on it, the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association Facebook page, you'll see tonight an exclusive who is going to be the next Prime Minister of this country. In fact, we have a picture of him already stood outside of number 10. So I'll just leave you with that little thing, and I can tell you he'll be at our dinner.
which is what, less than 44 days away.
Exactly.
So, if you want to find out more, how can people get tickets, Alan?
Oh, terrific.
How can people get tickets? They can.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, perhaps they can get tickets. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but they can contact myself or Alan.
Yeah.
Our contact details are all on the Wycombe Wanderers club pages. If you press the icon on the right hand side, it goes to our pages, and it has all the details, how to get hold of Hutch, especially. And then the rest of the committee, and most of these people you will know on your weekly trips down to Adams Park. I nearly said Lokes Park there.
Gents, it's been a pleasure to have you both on the show. I hope it's a really successful event, and we look forward to hearing more about it.
Yeah, thanks very much for doing this for us. That's very grateful. It's super. Thanks very much.
And we'll see you there, Colin.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Alan Hutchinson, who's the chairman of the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, and JDT, the vice chair, speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show still to come. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth as we look ahead to the trip to MK Dons on Saturday. But first, I'm very pleased to say we can chat to Craig, who's been doing some media work with Wycombe Wanderers Women. Hello, sir.
Hello, Colin. How are you doing today?
Really good, thank you. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Excited to talk to you about the Wycombe ladies.
Absolutely. It seems, as we've spoken to Carl and a number of the players in recent weeks, it seems like a really fantastic time to be involved with the Chairgirls.
It really is. There's a really progressive, forward-thinking implementation of how we want to raise the profile of them and how we want more coverage for them, definitely.
Especially after the Lionesses did so well in the Euros, and there seems to be a real sort of feeling of transition at the club with the new head coach coming in and some new players, but some of those from previous seasons as well.
Absolutely. I think as well, what was really big for not only the Chair girls, but also the club as a whole to host that game at Adams Park in the second qualifying round of the FA Cup, which we've got the third round this weekend qualifying, but the last one to have, I think 271 was the total of people there. So, and that was really big for the girls to have that game there.
So tell us about your own involvement and what your kind of role is, if you like.
My current role is, it's quite broad in a way where I will have, on match days, I'll just do everything I can to consume information. I'll do match day tweets. I'll do pre-match interviews with the Carl manager. I'll do a pre-match interview with maybe one of the players. Post-match, I'll do interviews that will go up on the website. I'll do behind the goal coverage that you'll see maybe on the highlights if you've seen on Wycombe's website. I will then on Monday, we have access to like a VO camera that we can edit footage from. I'll get timestamps from that. So Sunday it starts, but it doesn't really end till Monday. My kind of working for over the couple of days. So yeah, it's quite a lot, but it's worth it, and it's definitely something that I think definitely the Carl and the girls so far are very kind of appreciative of, and they can all see the benefits of it already in this last 3 or 4 weeks since we started. And
of course, not just the first team, but there's the reserves and under-18s as well, which are generating a lot of interest too.
Absolutely, like they have a really good setup, and the reserves actually this season are unbeaten. They haven't lost. The under-18s they play some really big clubs. They play I think they're playing. They played Nottingham Forest last weekend. I think they may be playing Derby this weekend. I might be wrong there, but they play some really, really big youth teams and development squads. So absolutely, there's a real big buzz around everything. And with Carl, like you've already mentioned, on Carl coming in the summer, I think he's brought a really fresh impetus and energy about the project.
And I was excited to be able to attend my first Wycombe Wanderers Women's game as well at Adams Park, and you know, you can't help but be impressed and inspired really by the level of football, and also the way that, you know, other young supporters are inspired as well.
Absolutely, we had post match from that, when we're looking at social media and sort of seeing the feedback from people. A lot of it was mums or dads bringing their boys and obviously their daughters to matches for the very first time, and just realms of positivity coming out of it. It was it was almost like, we're going to try this, we don't know how it's going to come across, and it came really, really, really good. And you're absolutely right about the quality. I mean, that's something I've been blown away by in the last 3 or 4 weeks, is if people are not sure about coming to a game, well, I would massively advise you to, because the quality that you will see is up there. It really is up there.
And something which really stood out for me, and I mentioned it to Carl and also Cara, who was the captain on the day as well, that there was two young girls sat near me. They were 10 and 11. I know that because they mentioned it quite a bit. But they were saying to their mum and dad and their mum and dad were saying to them, watch this, and you've got to take this into training. And they really wanted to sort of meet the players afterwards and get signatures. And it's a fantastic sort of all-round experience for them.
Well, this is what it's about. It's about having role models and representation. And off the back of the Lionesses in the summer, I mean, the fact that Wycombe are now putting their front foot forward with the chair girls and with the women's team is fantastic, because young girls can come to matches and can sit in the crowd and have role models and have idols and have favourite female players, which maybe up to this point they haven't had that chance to do. So again, this is one of the main reasons that this is happening. So we can have people like that come to our games and girls come to our games and resonate with the players on the pitch.
And a really good move for the team as well to be at the 1878 Stadium in Burnham now, a great sort of base for them for both matches and training too.
Absolutely, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything, sort of pre the summer and things. Obviously, it's still new for me as well. But from speaking to a lot of the girls that have been there for 2 or 3 seasons, like they are all really, really happy to be at like a proper stadium. If you've never been to Burnham's stadium before, it's got a nice stand, it's got good facilities, it's got a really nice a bar facility afterwards, which you can go in after the game, have a drink, you can watch matches on in there afterwards as well. It's a really, really, really nice facility, and I would encourage anyone just to come down, particularly this Sunday, to have a look and experience the day.
Yes, do tell us a bit more about what's happening on Sunday.
So yes, Sunday is, as we touched upon earlier, this is the third round of the FA Cup qualifying rounds. It's a bit of a mouthful. And if the chair girls win, and hopefully they win, all fingers crossed, they will be in the first round of the FA Cup proper, which, from doing a little bit of research and asking some of the girls, they've never been in the first round proper before. So it would be a massive, massive big deal, not only for footballing reasons, but naturally, as anything with a cup run, it will bring massive financial gain as well for the club.
Well, they must be on such a high as well from doing so well against London E Benfica and playing at Adams Park too.
Yes, I mean, seeing the girls the week after, they were still beaming from that game, from playing. Also, how loud it was, just absorbing all of that energy and trying to sort of bottle it up. I think they'd love to play there all the time, but they're happy to be at Burnham. They're happy to kind of, that's their home ground. It's new for them this season. They want to really put a staple on that. This is their home ground now, and I think there'd be nothing more than a statement to win on Sunday. That would be really good.
I think there's something really nice about sort of attracting new supporters as well. Perhaps people have only really seen the men's team before and want to find out what women's football locally is like.
Yes, I mean, this is it. Wycombe have had a very successful first team, particularly over the last number of years, and obviously, as you were talking to people from the Wycombe ex-Players Association there earlier, Wycombe is steeped in history, and it's going to be 135 years old, 125 years old soon. It's incredibly historical club, and how wonderful it would be to in 5, 10, 15 years time, players are meeting up from the women's game to go, oh, do you remember that cup run we went on in 22, 23? That would ultimately make that would be fantastic if we could achieve something along the lines of that, as far as the men have done over the years. Really
exciting time to be following the chair girls and watching all three sides grow, really. So how can people find out more?
You can actually jump on the Wycombe website. It's got men and women information on it as well. Like, you can see highlights from the women's games. You can see interviews, match reports, but you can also to see everything as it's coming up, you can follow the Wycombe Wanderers Women on Twitter. That's probably one of the main places to do. You'll get all your ticket information, match times, which they're normally at 2:00 on a Sunday for your first team and your reserve team. And your under-18s will normally play at home, again at Burnham, at about 10:30, 11 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday morning. So there's a couple of different options there. So you could actually go to the under-18s on a Saturday morning, and then you could go down to Adams Park, which is only a short drive away from Burnham, and watch the men's team.
What a feast of football it could be in your same Wycombe Wanderers shirt as well. Not a bad way to spend the weekend there.
Exactly. So you can watch 2 games on a Saturday and 1 on a Sunday if everyone's at home. Which exactly you can really make your weekend about Wycombe, whether it's men or women. Like, let's just make it Wycombe, Wycombe, Wycombe.
Great to have you on the show this week. We'll be hearing more from you in the coming weeks as well, and all the best for the weekend too.
Thank you very much, Colin. Speak to you soon.
Brilliant chat to Craig on the Wycombe Wanderers Show this week. Finally, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth talking about all sorts of things, including those 2 wins against Peterborough.
What a week, and again, the boys showing that, with the injuries back and with a fully fit squad, and well, not fully fit, but with more fit players than I've had all season. We're a different sort of team, we're a different outfit. I think players coming back into the team take 2 or 3 games to get going again, almost your Sam Volkses and the like. So really, really pleased with the result on Saturday. I thought we played really well, and I still look at the Plymouth game and the Shrewsbury game and the Charlton games and think we deserve probably about 3 or 4 more points at the moment. We'd probably be in about 4th and 5th place if we had those, and that's for me a true reflection of where we should be. But it doesn't always go like that. You've got to make sure that you do win those games. And like I say, Oxford, we scored the goal that counted, and Peterborough, we really dug deep to come back from them pegging us back. It was a nice moment Saturday. So yeah, against one of the teams that are going to be fancy at the end of the season, without a shadow of a doubt. Has there been anything in particular that you've been working on, or after those 3 defeats, or is it just a case of as you say, it was just a case of getting the players back, and you had sort of faith that it would turn? Yeah, I've always faith. That's my job, to have belief and give these boys total belief that they can go and achieve anything, which they can, without a shadow of a doubt. They can achieve whatever they want. I know what I've got as a squad. I know, you don't make the playoff final by fluke. The last 3 seasons is a promotion, is an unbelievable championship campaign, and then a playoff final. This group is a strong group, without a shadow of a doubt, and we've got to make sure that we continue in that vein and that belief. But the league has got stronger. That's the thing. There's outside influences here that we can't affect. That your top 10 now, really. I'd say we have a game in hand on Bristol and is it Exeter above us, I think, and. But after that, looking upwards, you're looking at your 20,000 crowds plus, and your huge clubs, and your 6 ex-Premier League clubs in the division, is it? I think so. That's what we're competing with now, and it's great to have owners that are fully aware of that, but also a team and a squad that believe they can compete with that. That's awesome for a club like Wycombe. I think fans can get a bit despondent when there's a bit of a poor run, but I guess in a way that's just what football is, isn't it? You get dips and peaks as well, and looking at the table, I know it's still very early in the season, only 13 games, but only 4 points off the playoffs as it is. Yeah, it's really, really early, and fans in football are knee-jerk reaction sometimes, and memories are short from some clubs. Wycombe Wanderers seems to be a decent group of fans, and you obviously always get your 1 or 2, but there's patience here. There's a belief in what we're building, and there's a consistency which we're really proud of. So yeah, I'm really happy where we are right now, and I'm looking forward to Saturday's game now, which again will be a tough one away at MK. And a number of positives to take from Tuesday night as well. A goal for Darryl Horgan, which I'm sure will help as well. Yeah, Daz is, I've spoken to him about, his contribution, and that's brilliant to see, great run from midfield. Adam Leathers getting involved in the build-up as well, and some young players getting some good minutes, I thought some real eye-openers. Daz played really well, and I'm really pleased for him to get his goal here. And does it feel it's a good time to be playing MK Dons? I'm sure it's not a good time to be playing any teams, but they're on a poor run at the moment, so I guess it could go either way. Because sort of capitalise on that, or they could be sort of looking for a scalp, of course. Yeah, you've answered your own question, Colin. It's never. It's always a dangerous time to play any team. If a team's won 3 on the spin, you're thinking these are in form, and if a team's lost 3 on the spin, you're thinking that's got to change soon. So there's no easy time to play anyone. I think that we've got to just be consistent with our performances and not worry about the opposition. We'll be looking at them tactically, but runs of form come and go in football, as you've just said, and MK are a good side. They got some good players, and we've got to make sure that we are our best away as well, because there's going to be a little bit of the playoff semi-final hanging around. That was such a big game only 4 or 5 months ago. So it's going to be an interesting team that they put out, because they've lost Darling, they've lost Twine, they've lost Parrott, some big players they've lost, but they have brought some good players in. So we've got to make sure that, we respect them as much as ever. And as I said, if people had disrespected our league position 2 weeks ago, then they'll definitely be ruining that. And we're going to do exactly the same to MK Dons. This league is so open; anybody can beat anybody in this league, and we're going to make sure we turn up again and keep that consistency that we've had in the last 2 games.
It's strange, isn't it? Because both sides have had sort of quite differing fortunes since that playoff meeting.
Yeah, and that's the league. That is the league, and they obviously lost some big players. I lost some big players. I've lost some staff members. They lost some staff members. So it's tough. It really is tough. And I always say that if your best players aren't available, you are going to struggle. You can't say. I was lucky enough to do some punditry last night, and we were talking about that with some of the guys on the panel. And your Van Dijks of this world and your Salahs of this world, they're out of the team. Liverpool become a totally different animal. Totally. And that's on a knife edge of keeping your best players fit, keeping your best players available. We have to do that here. MK want to do it there, and every other team in League One, they want their best squads out there. So we've got to make sure that we look after them. They're not just disposable assets. These guys, they're people we've got to take care of. They deliver for the club. They've got to make sure that they're fit, and that's down to my medical teams, my sports science teams, and obviously the way we train and prepare for games. So a lot more goes into it than just picking an 11, as a lot of people will just probably type on a Saturday night after a game. There's a lot more that goes into that, and I see it every day. I see who's fit, I see who's available, who's in form, who's struggling, and everyone's got their own little issues. But so far so good. I'm pleased where we are this season, and hopefully we can capitalise on the 2 wins we've had.
Wycombe Wanderers manager Gareth Ainsworth, one of the few non-live bits of the show this week. Luke's with us live as well.
Hello.
If we'd have pre-recorded this, that would have just left that bit out and just started you.
This is live, Colin, of course. Ha.
You've joined us for a brief notice board section.
Yes, just to mention that there is a family fun-filled day on Saturday the 29th...
Would have done that better.
Yeah, I would have. On Saturday the 29th of October, the game against Morecambe. It's going to be a family fun day. Lots going on, including our very good friends, the Wycombe Swan, also going to be there, along with Cinderella and her carriage as well.
On the pitch?
Not on the pitch, no. The grounds people would not be very happy with that.
No.
But lots of things happening. You can meet the players at 12:30. Entertainment in the car park kicks off at 1. Some radio station called Wycombe Sound are going to be there as well. And it's all being sponsored by Bucks New University.
Sounds a good day.
Yeah, very good.
There's quite a run of home games coming up.
It's going to be busy.
The FA Cup to come as well against Walsall. A live match commentary, of course, on Saturday away at MK Dons.
Yes, that will be good. Build up from 2.
And then, as I say, quite a run of home games. So it feels good at the moment. We've got these back-to-back wins for the first time this season.
It was great atmosphere on Saturday being there. Especially that end goal was really, really good. So here's to more of that.
Yes, much positive news still to come. The Wycombe Wanderers Show, of course, if you miss it, you probably won't be listening to this, but there's a podcast version available from tomorrow as part of your pre-match build-up, and the Wycombe Wanderers Show on a Thursday evening from 7 here at Wycombe Sound. Many thanks.
Come on, you please.